don't hate women. Yes, you do. When it comes to stuff like education, if this doesn't go the way we want it, we're just going to get you married.
So it's like, it's a punishment. If you don't do this, you'll get married off.
And then you're meant to be happy about it.
If the entire mindset of our society is stuck on what girls are doing, our country is not going to progress.
I am very excited about our conversation today. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
On the pod today, I have Miss Maheen Ghauri. Please tell them who you are, our listeners, if you will.
Okay. Hello. So I am Maheen Ghauri. I'm Dean Student Affairs at the IBA Karachi, which is Institute for Business Administration. So as part of Dean Student Affairs, I have around 5 to 6 offices that report to me. But primarily, I am also a trainer, and I have worked a lot with youth in Pakistan and abroad. And I've trained entrepreneurs in the past as well. And we've run Women X programs where we trained women entrepreneurs to start small businesses in Pakistan. So that's my short bio, and then the conversation can go on.
Yeah, I've been to IBA actually. I went there.
Okay.
I hosted an event
Great.
for the School of Journalism.
Oh, nice.
And that setup is unbelievable. And you bet none of you have been to IBA listening, Karachi and IBA. They have a setup in the news that's like a newsroom.
It is.
I spent like 3 hours in there. I was like running around from chair to chair. I was like, this is my future. I could do it. So the reason I'm excited about today's conversation, first of all, because you're a lovely person, but number 2 is we're talking about things that really rile me up. Number 1 is gender gap in higher education. Obviously, someone from one of our top universities here in Karachi, you've probably have a lot of experience with seeing what that is. And I think people have they misunderstand what it means. I think a lot of times when it comes to like girls and women's issues, we try to like brush it aside and say like, is it even that big of a deal? But to get to know me a little bit, so I'm Sabah, I'm your host, but I moved to Pakistan about 11 years ago now. Then when I moved here, my mom was watching dramas, and obviously I started watching the dramas because they're very, very good. And over again, I kept seeing this plot point that was girls who went to university or even had a job, either or, were people whose character you could not judge, like could not trust, excuse me. You could obviously judge it. You know, I see a couple episodes and I'm like, whatever, that's crazy. But once you see like 4 or 5 episodes of the same thing, I turned to my mom and I was like, this cannot be real. Like, that's crazy that they are literally assassinating a girl's character because she's reading a book. And my mom was like, it's 100% real. And that is the moment that I say, I don't love this word, but I say that is the moment that radicalized me and made me the person who yells on the internet about women and women's issues all the time. So
of course.
So you as someone in this field, is that true? Does that really happen?
So when I speak from IBA Karachi's perspective, it's very different. I would say we're on a different planet altogether because we have 40 to 45% of the student body are women.
Hey,
which is excellent, but that is not the reality in Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
And just a few weeks ago, because I was doing some research and I came across a few latest numbers in Pakistan, can you imagine that the literacy rate for women in Pakistan is like 40, 42? We are way below Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, India, forget about the Western countries, right? So that's number 1. Men is also 72, which is not that high either, to be honest. We have girls and women studying at IBA, but then the bigger question is how many of them will move on to work? Or work in companies or start their own businesses. And another number which is going to stand out is 5.6% of women in Pakistan move on to managerial positions or higher, which depresses me. Every time I see such numbers, it actually depresses me. Now, obviously, there are obvious reasons. You know, we have the cultural issues around it. When girls are born, from the time they grow up, they've been told that, you need to grow up, get married,
Yeah.
have kids, run a family. Around 39 to 40% of our students are on some kind of financial support or scholarship at the IBA Karachi. So that is one good thing. So we do promote.
A few years ago, I did this TEDx in Islamabad, and it was like, how do we see the future of the world? And I spoke to the boys and the men in the audience who, are like clapping away for what I'm saying. And I said, how many of you, when you're leaving your house at night, have turned back and said, is my sister coming? Is my sister allowed out of the house and things? And I think especially when it comes to stuff like education, I don't know, it's really bizarre to me that that literally the response is, if this doesn't go the way we want it, we're just going to get you married.
So it's like a punishment.
Yes.
It's
literally.
It's a punishment. If you don't do this, you'll get married off.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, you'll get married off.
And then you're meant to be happy about it. Like, it's so confusing to me.
It's terrible. It is terrible. And you see, again, coming to the point that, as you said, when you were watching dramas and, there's this stigma attached around women who are studying, it is absolutely true. Yeah. Because the girls who are coming and they're actually studying, in our society, people will think they have a bad character or they're talking to boys. Oh my God, that is like, we've had girls come to us, even the same girl who I was talking about. She said that if my father finds out that I talk to boys, he's going to pull me out of IBA and
then marry me to a boy I've never spoken to.
Yes.
Oh my.
So do you see
my blood pressure? Literally.
Same every day. Every day, our blood pressure is right up there. It's amazing. It's amazing the way our society works. It's amazing the way the mindset is. And what's unfortunate is it's not just the men, it's more the women.
Absolutely.
It's the mothers and the mother-in-laws and the elder sisters and the puppies and the jajis and the khalas and all of those put together.
Why do you think that is, though? Is it that, like, it almost seems like you need this to be the only way things are, because otherwise you're going to look at yourself and say, what happened to me? And I do feel that, like, maybe my mom's generation, because, like, now I'm like a older millennial, then you have Gen Z, whatever have you, but, like, my mom's generation, I do see a lot of women just kind of being like, well, this is the way it is, and that's how it has to be. And I've said to one of them that it's like, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I was like, I'm having a breakthrough here, because I feel like you need this to be real. Because if you find out that you could have lived life any other way, you will like fall through the ice.
But then there's the other flip side of it, where boys and men are looking for girls who are educated. So, Dr. Bahu Chahiye, or she could. And then there are guys who say, okay, we will allow her to teach or work from home.
Teaching the woman's woman's space.
Yeah. Teach, or a nurse.
Yeah.
Nursing, because it's a respectable profession. Yeah. Teaching is a respectable profession. Yeah. Other professions are not respectable. So it is interesting how they say we want a doctor daughter-in-law, and then the moment the doctor daughter-in-law comes home, she's told, you can't work. So you can't work full-time. How will you work full-time?
Who will look after the house?
Exactly.
I'm like, how did it last this long? It's still standing before I got here. Me projecting, me cosplaying a doctor.
Exactly.
Actually, one of the biggest internet brawls that I had during the pandemic was some guy tweeted out that I'm tired of these Pakistani women taking these seats at med schools, because I think a study had come out that said, hey, do you know that in Pakistan, much like the trend in most of the world, actually science and tech, more and more and more women.
Yes.
More and more women. Yes. And so I guess this dude got really mad at that. Never studied a day in his life, but he's angry that someone has taken his success, I guess, and was like, we need to stop giving these seats to women because they don't even want to practice. They just do it to be desirable for marriage. Now, what I will say is there are plenty of us who have been told that you must go in this path so that you are desirable for marriage.
Yes.
Facts. But the reason I blasted the man is I was like, what makes you think she has any choice in that? Like, isn't that literally the design of all of this? It's like they never turn back and look within their own walls. It's very interesting.
They don't.
They don't.
And what is also interesting is, so I've had, sorry, I've had, and there are women who I've met who are from educated families as well. And I have argued with them to let their daughters study further. And their excuse is that, what's the point? Because at the end of the day, you know, we have financial constraints. We'd rather that our sons study and not our daughters. Why? Because when the daughter, even if she starts working, she'll be bringing her income to her in-laws and not her. And it is pointless arguing with these people.
Yeah.
We do argue. I know you do. I know I do as well. But it is pointless because they are so set in their ways. And I think part of it is what you said, that they went through this. Yeah. So they are projecting, or they have not seen any other world. They've not seen any other society. This is the kind of exposure they had. And this is, so I think awareness and spreading awareness and explaining to the younger generation that you can do anything that you put your mind to is so important. And that is what we do at IBA Karachi. We do awareness workshops, we do awareness sessions, and we hope that even if 5 or 10% of these girls realize one good thing about Gen Z. So, you know, we always talk about Gen Z because we train them and we teach them. And
I'll tell you right here, well, now I'm 35. And when I was 33, I would literally say I'm Gen Z and 33 because I truly respect them in a way that I'm like, the reason people, I fully believe, hate on them so much is the exact thing we're talking about.
Exactly.
They're forcing you to be like, oh, did I not have to suffer in this way this whole time?
Exactly. They question.
Yeah.
They if they're disappointed, they raise their voice and they say, we're disappointed. If something's not going their way, they will say, no, we want it this way. And they fight. Yeah. And they fight for their rights. And yes, we feel a lot of angst when this is happening. Yeah. But at the same time, they, and these are not just girls from a certain socioeconomic background I'm talking about. So we also have a lot of diversity at IBA. We have girls and women and boys as well coming from different backgrounds. Yeah. We have girls from Gilgit-Baltistan. We have girls from remote areas like interior Sindh and interior Punjab and Quetta. So, you know, these are girls who've been brought up in families where they had terrible economic conditions, but because they got scholarships, because of their merit and talent, they've been admitted at the IBA, and they're all in one classroom, so they learn from each other as well. Even they speak up, and they speak up for their rights. I was recently in Gilgit-Baltistan. I was conducting workshops for the Al Khan schools, and I was so happy to see there were like 49% girls and 51% boys in the class. It's amazing. But then another depressing number is that 38% of kids drop out in grade 5 or below.
Yeah. I do think sometimes you look around here and you're heartbroken because this child could be my child at my age, like, and they're not in school. And then, you know, my dad's like, but when you have 8 kids, how are you going to feed them? You need them to start working. Like, it's just the constant snake that's biting its own tail.
It is.
Sorry, I don't mean to jump us back, but it's interesting when you talk about having awareness at IBA Karachi and making this party thing. Well, one thing for sure, I think people, you know, urbanites, elites sort of believe that, we are the torchbearers of the change, and that not true. In fact, most movements, I feel, it does come from students like this who really had to bust, you know, their backs and their families' backs in order to get somewhere. And I love those stories because I know that they had parents that are afraid, but are also like, no way, my kid is going to have a different life. At these awareness things, what are some of the like gender stereotypes that you feel maybe even come up in conversation or that you witness and you kind of have to be like, hey, it doesn't have to be this way?
So one of the typical stereotypes is, you know, like women can only do certain jobs. So you spoke about STEM, for example. And at IBA, we have a lot of girls studying in the computer science programs, in the mathematics programs. Otherwise, these were generally professions that boys would go into, right? Or engineering, for example. Even things like supply chain or manufacturing. We don't have manufacturing per se, but many students are interested in that area, or data analytics, or et cetera, et cetera. So that is one stereotype that we talk about again and again. And at IBA Karachi, at least, and in other good universities in Pakistan, top universities, boys and men have realized, and even the faculty are very supportive, and they encourage more girls to write research papers, to go for internships, to work on projects, robotics, etc., etc. That is one thing. I think more than the stereotyping, it is more to do with, unfortunately, harassment, bullying, and which is a whole other like elephant altogether. And so
gendered bullying.
Yes, there is. So to give you an example, last year, the year that just ended in May, we had, so IBA has been there for 69 years. This year will be the 70th year. So we're the oldest business school in Pakistan.
Yeah, almost as old as Pakistan.
Exactly. And the first time in the history of IBA in 70 years, we had a woman president of the student government. So, you have the IBA student government. And
First time
in 70 years,
wow.
yes. And it was always boys.
Yeah.
Always boys. And so there would be one or two girls working at, the treasurer level or the
secretary.
Or the general secretary. Yeah. But never the president. So, and this girl, interestingly, is from Kohat. Nice. And her family, I think her father was in the army, so they lived in Islamabad quite a bit. And so when she first came to me, she said, I'm highly apolitical. I'm not part of any lobby or political. They have like unofficial political parties in students.
So cool. It's pretty cool.
So she said, do you think I have a chance? I said, why don't you have a chance? She said, I'm a woman, I'm a girl, not from Karachi. I'm from, this far-flung area, and Urdu isn't even my first language. And she's very well-spoken, and she's very confident. And she said, do you think people will vote for me? I said, look, what percentage of the students are political? She said, hardly 8 to 10%. I said, so you have the rest of the 90% who are not involved in politics. I said, speak to them, campaign with them, get their votes. And she won. And she did an amazing full academic year with events and activities. And she helped us organize workshops for women. And, we did a lot of anti-harassment and anti-bullying workshops. We bring in people from outside IBA to speak about it. And the impact that harassment and bullying has on education and, the way they study and how, because mental health is a very, very important area nowadays as well. And we've seen a lot more of the younger generation go through depression and anxiety.
The world that they've
and
bad.
And many of these students started studying during the COVID time, during the pandemic. So it was, stressful for them. Their first year, probably when they started, they were doing classes online. And then suddenly they're thrown back on campus.
I talked about this the other day online, that the mistrust and the dismissal of girls and women in Pakistan is endemic. And so people want to dog on you because they just cannot stomach that just through hard work and success, she did something. I also think Pakistanis have a bit of a problem that whenever someone else is successful, you're there, you feel like they took it from you.
Of course.
Right? Like someone becomes a surgeon and you're mad, but it's like, you studied law. Why are you mad? And I feel like that's such a common thing. But between the genders, it's very common.
It is.
I was working at a tech company out here in Karachi. This girl, fresh grad, 23 years old, joins the marketing team, and she just happened to get married at the same time. And her choice, it was something she wanted to do. I made sure of that. I was like, what do you mean you're married at 23? And she went to work a week after her rukhsati or whatever because, bills, electricity, bijli, K Electric, nothing can stop them. And one of her colleagues, who was like 25 years old, also a fresh grad, was like, I don't even understand why you're here. You're married now. Like, go home. And was like disgusted with her. Like, truly, the way I'm saying it is much more like, nah. But he was literally like, ew. And I'm like, when are we like beating this into them?
So when we do sessions, and we've run some campaigns on anti-vaping, for example, and how bad it is for health.
Yes.
Talk about it from a medical perspective, from a health perspective, for both boys and girls. Not girls shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Or character kharab hai.
The like instinct is men's bad behaviors. Oh no, but it's because of those rotten women that this happened. And it's crazy that also exists in workspaces and workplaces. They'll literally be like, well, I mean, you were wearing that, and like you guys have been chatting, and it's like, because that's how I pay my bills. Like, you literally put me on a team with this person.
Exactly.
So what was I supposed to do? The idea was like, well, you know, we're responsible for keeping ourselves safe also, even at work.
We are. You know, and it is sad. Like you're talking about clothes. I've had men and women in the workplace. I will blame both of them equally. Telling me that I shouldn't smile too much.
Oh, God.
Because people think I'm over friendly, or I should not talk to I'm very talkative. I'm a trainer.
I'm not at all super introvert.
I'm very talkative, and I remember my dad, even though we grew up in England, and when we came to Pakistan, I think my dad has never, ever, my mom and dad have, like, we're blessed. I'll be very honest. You know, I'm blessed to be brought up in a family where we're only two sisters, and they never stopped us from doing anything or being who we wanted to be. But we're blessed. We're one of the 0.001%.
Yeah, honestly, I'm in one of those too.
Of course.
So a lot of times when I talk about it, I'm like, I understand I'm coming from a place of privilege. Like, I just had these freaks for parents who just, I guess, didn't care.
I do smile. And women at the bank, I remember once they said, you know, when you smile too much, men take it the wrong way. Like, what? Excuse me?
Again, sea prison. Put them all in the sea prison.
So the problem is with the men. It is the way they see the woman.
Journalist Maria Mimon, she actually had quite a viral moment a few weeks ago because she does these Ask Me Anythings on her stories.
Yeah.
And I guess somebody pointed out, a couple foreigners who had come and worked in Pakistan had pointed out to her that, like, you never see Pakistani women smile. Like, it's like we always look like we are just not having a good day.
Yeah.
Now, I myself, as an American, we're like, we're always like so nice to meet. You know, we're too much. You will know everything about me within minutes of meeting me. It's a disease.
Same.
And I wear it proudly, and I refuse to fix it. But I have also now adopted that, like, when I'm out and about, like, I'm not smiley and happy at all because it was getting confused for something. And that was what so many of the responses were, is that when Pakistani women smile, I mean, girls in schools, it's got to be much worse. But, like, you dress up because, I don't know, you're like a person who wants to feel nice.
Feel nice, yeah.
You put on perfume, you put on makeup, you smile, you answer an email, you do your part in your group project. You, I don't know, bring a brownie to work one. All of these are like, oh my God, this girl, this woman, she must want me. She loves me. She's looking for friendships left, right, and center. Yeah. I've had people that I've, like, in drive Kareems and stuff, find me on social media and be like, we had a good chat. Why? I said, like, thank you, Kadafis. I don't know if you can tell. I'm quite loud. Our sound guy has been pulling his headphones off. My sister and I, when we first moved to Pakistan, when we'd be at restaurants and we'd be laughing and stuff, I'd have moments where I'd be like, because all the tables, it's again, what kind of society are you allowing to thrive if that society requires the silence and disappearance of half of it? That's crazy.
It's crazy. And it's again all about, I have been to sessions where they were men sitting on stage discussing women health issues in Pakistan.
And it's like, if you literally just put your camera on selfie mode, the health issue would become apparent to all of you. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to bring us to this because we're talking about all this, right? And you and I, we have never met before today. We just met right before when you were watching me be beautified. And I'm having a great conversation with you because women and girls especially, we are very good at finding, creating, and fostering community.
Definitely.
Because we have to. We are very good at building community. And this is also something I've only recently been hearing this kind of talk, because TikTok, I'm sure as an educator, that feels great to you. That is where I learn. And I've been seeing a lot about like women don't get enough credit for doing that. Yes. Tell me a bit about, I'm not just saying this is just for women. Obviously, IBA is not a one gender school, but tell me a bit about Office of Student Affairs and how IBA comes together for safe spaces and these sort of conversations with their students.
Of course. So we have the first good thing that I don't know, many people may not know about. We have around 350 to 400 girls staying in the hostels, which is a big responsibility because, as I said, they come from far-flung areas in Pakistan and rural areas as well. So they are in a safe space. They have full support from our office at all times. So if any girl has any kind of issue, whether it's health related or harassment or bullying, or we always provide that kind of support to them. And we have a zero tolerance policy. We do not condone any kind of harassment or bullying, whether it's from a boy or a girl or a male faculty member or a female faculty member. It doesn't matter. Like, the community is very, very supportive in that way. And as I said, we also conduct and organize a lot of sessions over around women health issues in Pakistan, and which is why, you know, like, we had invited a few people and they were only sending men. The second time around, I said, that's not going to happen.
That's happened on this podcast. Wow. I'm not even joking. The whole pitch of it is that finally women on the mic, and these companies have been like, hold up, that's crazy. We got to send one man in there, balance it all out. 2 women equals 1 man. That was their thought process, I guess. So, yeah.
But yeah, we organize sessions, workshops. We train women entrepreneurs as well. So, you know, girls who want to start businesses, because again, it all comes down to the fact that we're studying here, but our parents don't want us to work.
Yeah.
So, but they're allowing us to start a business. So please help us there. And it's a vicious cycle. And I don't see it, as you said, our system is collapsing. I see us regressing instead of progressing. It is very sad.
We should be like our neighbors, where education is all we are we are rabid about education, if nothing else, because that is the only thing at this point, genuinely. I know people don't like when you say that, but the reality is education will save us. Of course. And good education. And if more of us are actively demanding that we get good education, eventually you're going to have to give in and give in to us, right? But it's such a huge hill to climb that, I don't know.
Curriculums have to be developed around women rights and more like equitable.
Or I was going to say policies. Just like maybe seeing us as like human beings.
That would be as nice. Individuals, of course.
I think that's a good place to end this on, that it's like, hey, maybe in the curriculums, mention here or there.
I agree.
That we are humans. Thank you so much for coming on today. This was a lovely conversation.
Thank you so much.
And literally could have gone on for hours. Forever. I'm hyped up. I'm going to have you come back on. I'll kick my co-host out again. It can just be us talking. So thank you. That was Let's Talk About This.
Thanks,
guys.